we appreciate you taking the time for being here. I'd like to then introduce our great speaker today. I'll read her 3-page bio.
Yeah, you can skim it and just hit the high points.
But Kelly McDonald is a marketing and advertising specialist and considered one of the nation's top experts in consumer trends, generational differences, and leveraging the customer experience. She's the founder of McDonald Marketing, which has twice been named one of the top ad agencies in the U.S. by Advertising Age magazine, and ranked as one of the fastest growing independently owned companies in the U.S. by Inc. magazine. Bravo. She has been featured on CNBC, in Forbes magazine, Business Week, Fast Company, on CNNmoney.com, and the Sirius XM radio. She's written several books that are bestsellers that you can see.
He can't even keep track. I can tell that's an old bio, so we're going to go with 4.
Or 4 now.
4.
That's why I said several. She's originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and graduated from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. She now lives in Denver, Colorado. When she's not speaking, she's playing the cello. Or fly fishing, as she told me. But she's a certified virtual speaker, highly qualified in this space. You're going to receive some great information today, and it's going to be engaging. So I'd like to welcome Kelly McDonald.
Thanks, Joe. Thank you. Thank you. That was really nice. And I did bring my cello, just so you know, but not for the reason that you think. I'm very much a beginner. So I'm learning to play the cello. I've been playing it for about 4 months, and I was just telling someone earlier that I now have completely mastered Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. So I got that, but I'm a beginner. But I'm going straight from here to a 4 p.m. cello lesson in Denver, where I live, and I don't have time to swing by my house and get it. And I brought it in because it's not good for the wood to sit out in extreme heat or extreme cold and stuff like that. So if you want to take a look at her, she's really pretty, but she's not performing today. I had a 4th of July party at my house, and about 30 close friends or whatever, and I invited my cello instructor, who I've known for 4 months, okay? And he showed up, and he's great. And the 2 days before, I'm taking a lesson from him, and he goes, "What are you going to play at your party?" And I'm like, "I'm not playing at my party." And he goes, "Yes, you are." And I'm like, and I mean, honestly, he's like my equal. We're the same age and all that kind of stuff. And I felt like it was like my teacher or my parent going, "Yes, you are," And I'm like, "Okay, well, what should I play?" And he goes, "Let's start with Go Tell Aunt Rhody." Do you know that song? Yeah. Go Tell Aunt Rhody. Go tell Aunt Rhody. Go tell Aunt Rhody. Go tell Aunt Rhody. The old gray goose is dead. It's a violent song, right? So anyway, the point is, he came, I played, I choked, he saved me. He's amazing. So I choked on, I played 3 little pieces, and the first 2 were disastrous, and then the second one I nailed it. I was just really nervous, and I don't even get nervous. I think this is just so out of my wheelhouse. But it was one of those things where you choked when you send your instructor a text that night that said, "I'm really, really sorry that I played the way I did," because I know it reflects on him, right? It reflects on him. I introduced him to everybody, "This is my cello instructor," and then I'm like, and everybody's like, "Great." Anyway, good try, Cal. Anyway. But I sent him a text that night, and I said, "I'm really, really sorry for my performance today." I said, "I was really nervous, but I know that it reflects on you, and I apologize." And he said, "You did better on the 3rd song." So he didn't refute that I choked, you know what I'm saying? He didn't go, "Oh, no, you were fine." And I think, Charmas, we were talking about, a good coach is like that. A good coach will tell you better, but better's not the same as good, right? So if you are messing up, it's like, okay, better. But better's not good, okay? So I just want you to know that after that disastrous performance, I really got my head into the game, and I was like, okay, I got to do better. This isn't even living up to my standards or whatever. And so I played a very complicated piece last week called Rigadoon, complicated for me. And I got a glass slipper sticker from my cello instructor. Yeah. So he has mostly children as students. I'm like, no, I'm not kidding. So I'm like one of 5 adult students, okay? So he's got mostly children, so he has all these sticker books, so that it's like, good job, right? So I play it, and he goes, "Perfect." And I'm like, "Perfect?" And he goes, perfect. And I'm like perfect? You know, like actually perfect? And he's not the kind of guy that's going to give false praise. And he goes, yes. And he goes over to his little sticker book and he goes, I'm going to give you a glass slipper. I just want to do a quick show of hands, and I'm never, ever, ever going to embarrass you. I'm never going to trick you. I'm never going to ask you a question that's going to make you look stupid or anything like that. So can we just relax and be together today? Okay, because we're going to spend a lot of time together. But this is just a show of hands or whatever. So how many of you, thank you all for telling me what you do, but how many of you are actually in a leadership role, right? Like you're either the president of your company or you're, you know, in a senior leadership position. You have people below you that you manage and things like that. So let me see. Okay, and then how many of you are aspiring leaders? Maybe you actually work for a different kind of company and you're not in management, but that's where you want to go.
But does it count that we used to do it?
Absolutely. Okay, all right, so, all right. And then the rest of you, I'm just going to lump you into, you do coaching and services for other businesses, right? I mean, is that a fair kind of, did I get it? Like how? Okay, all right. Okay, Frank's like, okay. You and I need to be friends. Okay. All right. The other thing I would like to do to make this as important and valuable to you is, you know, we can be very intimate with each other today. We have the whole day. And I also want to start by honoring you because you all could be doing anything else right now. You could be at work. You could be on the golf course. You could be watching your kid play. You could be doing anything. And you chose to be here. And so I want to honor you for making not just time for this, but it's a big chunk of time today. It's the better part of your day. And I also want to say that I echo what Joe was saying about being involved in the community. If you think about every leader that you're ever going to see in the world, they are not just going home and watching Netflix at night. They're out and about. They're going to fundraisers. They're making appearances or whatever. And they are leading by example by doing that. And so that's how communities and business get stronger, is when they see others who are giving back of their time or just simply their presence, you know. And so I encourage you to do that. And then when he said buy a ticket to La Vida, I would say, you got free professional education here today. Return the favor. Yep, all right. Okay, but I want to just do this real quick and ask a question that's not a trick question, which is, what's the current business challenges, or is there anything in particular you would like to solve for today? And there's no right or wrong answer, but I just want to write this down in case somebody says, I'm making this up. Well, go ahead.
Current business challenge, visibility and opportunity.
All right, visibility. And opportunity, by that you mean business growth? What do you mean by opportunity?
Opportunity, yeah, business growth, meaning to attract more clients and et cetera.
Okay, business growth, all right. Anybody else? A current challenge that you'd like to be able to talk about and solve for today? Yeah.
Getting employee buy-in.
We're going to talk about that. Yeah. Okay, employee buy-in, that's a really good one. And leaders know how to do that. Employee buy-in, yeah, okay. Anything else? Frank. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. Frank.
Managing the pivot.
Which pivot? The crisis.
I mean, when your business is creatively maybe switching
Yep.
Priorities.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everybody had to do it. I can't spell pivot. It's with a P, not a B. Everybody had to do that during COVID, and we had to do it fast, you know, and we had no playbook for it, right? So, okay, that's excellent. Yuriko.
Kind of piggyback on Frank, and that is what resonates, because things are changing so quickly. How do you communicate with residents so that you don't sound like you're talking about old news,
Right.
but you're really trying to prepare a platform for new news?
That's an excellent question. Anything else?
Kelly, can I add one more?
Sure.
How about the ceiling of complexity? Too big to stay small and then too small to go big.
I didn't know you were going to throw that one at me. All right. The ceiling of complexity. Okay. Yeah, we will. Yeah. And I'm going to show you how we're going to solve for these. Because some of these are complex. I mean, some of these are skills, very tactical, like do this, you know, whatever, for recruiting or retention or employee buy-in, things like that. And then some of that is more conceptual, you know, and being able to actually see it. Anything else?
So I echo all of it, but I don't know how to say it, but making sure that but the message that you have and you want to present or you are presenting that is needed, or how to make sure that it's what the community is getting.
Okay. You're onto something big there. I'm a marketing person by background, and and I will tell you that the number one rule in marketing is people spend money on what they value. You know, how much is it for your kid to go do all this travel? And I mean, a lot. Doesn't matter to you, right? People spend money on what they value. And so the thing is, then how do you figure out what your customers want or value or need? And all of those would be the value, right? It's like if you, and then the other thing is, people do not buy products or services. Sorry, but they don't. They buy solutions. So, and we'll get into this more, but anytime you can package your product or your service as a solution, then that's the value proposition right there. Is that, you know, like I can, you know, you've got a ball cap on, James, right? John, whatever. Okay. Sorry, that's James. I'm kidding. You got a ball cap on, and a ball cap is a ball cap is a ball cap, okay? And I don't think I need that until it's really bright outside, and then I need a ball cap because I need some shade on my eyes because I forgot my sunglasses. And then I will go to the hotel gift shop and pay $40 for a ball cap that anywhere else at Target or whatever would cost $6. Why? Because it's a solution. It's not the product, it's a solution, right? So anyway, that's a truism in marketing is people don't buy products, but they buy solutions. So marketing companies are always solving for the solution, which is, you know, and you even see it in fast food. They'll be like, family bucket, complete meal. And you're like, first of all, you're like, gross. But then you're like, okay, well, that solves dinner tonight. You know? No, I'm serious, because then it's not just a bucket of chicken. It's like, it's the whole meal, right? And like in a few words, they've basically solved a problem. Not eat our food, it's yummy. It's family dinner, handled, right? Okay, so anything else? Okay, I'm going to move on. All right, we're going to come back to that, though. So the next thing I want to ask of you is 3 agreements for today. Okay, this is what I'm going to ask of you. The first one is, in order to get the most out of the session today, and I can already tell we're there, I want you to have an open mind. I'm going to do some weird stuff. You're going to go with it, okay? I want you to engage, which I think we've got that down pat, okay? With me, with each other, and I want you to play along with me and with each other, because I am going to throw some weird exercises at you, and you just got to go with it, okay? And if you go with it, I mean, they don't have to make sense, but you'll have fun. And we're going to prove a point, okay? So do we have these agreements? Yes. Anybody disagree? Okay, cool. So I want to just talk about the obvious, which is, you know, you came here today for a session that's called how to lead in tough times, okay? So tough times can be looming recession. Tough times can be COVID, ongoing pandemic, you know, virus number 15 or whatever that we're on right now. No, it's a never ending. I mean, and it makes us weary, right? It makes us weary. Aside from all the business implications, I'm just like, we're all kind of getting like beaten down, like where's the good news, right? So it's been a rough road regarding the pandemic and COVID. It's, you know, we're on year 3 of this strange journey, 2020, 2021, and now 2022. That's a long time. That's a long time. And organizations have been dealing with all kinds of stressors. Maybe it's your clients, maybe it's your business yourself, which is business has been drastically affected. Laying off or furloughing staff or cutting back. I don't know if you've had to do that, John. No? Okay, you're lucky. Ramping up a workforce to work from home, which was completely new to many, many organizations. And if you had to do that or know people who had to do that, then they had to keep their working from home employees engaged, which is a whole other problem. And then obviously, many of you probably know some people who got sick, you know, and it either affected business or affected you emotionally or family members and stuff like that. And an extreme shortage of workers in every sector, right? So as my husband is very fond of saying right now, nothing's working now. No, I mean, it's really kind of true. Like, nothing's working now. I just ordered some patio furniture from Crate and Barrel because it was on sale, and it tells me that it's going to show up in late September. Why is it on sale if it's not available? Like, isn't that weird? And it's going to come just in time for winter. Awesome. Awesome, yeah. It's just crazy, though. So would you all agree with this? I mean, it's just been rough, okay? And I think that also, personally, that COVID has humbled us. And what I mean by that is, as business people, we can see a lot coming. We can see a recession coming. There's indicators, right? We can see war coming. We can see famine coming. Like there's lots of things that we can see and kind of go, oh man, it's going to be bad, right? I don't think any of us ever saw this coming. And what it's taught me over the last 3 years is I don't know what's around the corner. This really humbled me to make me think, you don't know everything. You've got your business handled or whatever. Well, COVID had other ideas, and other plans for us or whatever. So I think what it did for all of us is give us an awakening and a realization that like, wow, we just don't know what's around the corner. There are those things that we can see coming, and they're important, and they could impact all of us in very, very significant and difficult ways. But there might be something that we can't even imagine that's around the corner. And so I think that it's just okay to acknowledge that, we just don't know. And yet, here you are. Here you are. So, thank you. So I want to do an exercise with you. I want you to do 25 push-ups. No, I'm kidding. I'll do it with you. No. I want you to do an exercise. And for this exercise, I want you to group yourselves into groups of 5. Your group can do this exercise any way you choose. Okay? I'm going to give you the exercise, but you're going to figure out how to tackle it. You could discuss it and then give me, an answer. Or you can write things down. Or you can draw a picture, okay? No, seriously, you don't know what's coming. I just said you don't know what's coming. So the point is anything goes. Anything goes, okay? No matter how weird or ridiculous or funny or whatever, anything goes. This is a safe space and all that kind of stuff. You're going to build a rocket ship. You're going to build a rocket ship. I'm going to give you some supplies to work with to build a rocket ship. Okay? Catch. 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 I don't want to hurt anybody. Catch. 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 You didn't catch. Okay. Catch.
Good hands.
I am loving my team more and more.
And some of you, if you don't damage this in the re-entry to the world, into the atmosphere, you may be able to take these home to your kids or grandkids, okay? I don't want to favor anybody. Let's see. Let me see how many I have left. Oh, I might have the right amount. 1, 2. Oh, this is awesome. I have 3. Okay. Okay. So, catch. You ready? Yeah. This is heavy. Good. Catch. Oh no, I got a couple more here. Catch. I got a couple more. I gotta see what you have on your table. Catch! Scissors. All right. How many items do you have? How many have I given each table?
6.
You have 4? We have 4. Okay, and you have 6? 6. And how many do you have? 4?
We only have 5.
But you have 5. The other, you have 5. You have 4.
Yes, 4.
Coasters, okay? But these aren't coasters, they're part of a rocket ship, okay? So now here's the deal. Everybody has the same number of items, everybody has different items, and you can see what some of the items are. And I said you could do this any way you want. So let that sink in.
I'm about to go trade.
Bingo! or I'm not suggesting this. I'm just saying you could trade. You could say maybe we would be better if I joined that table. I like their stuff better. I have an idea. Whatever. Anything goes. We're not going to do this all day. You have 6 minutes to build a rocket ship.
I propose that we combine all resources.
Kimberly has a motion on the floor. She seconds the motion.
I'm down for that.
We didn't make this
a democracy.
I demand that we.
Guess we have unity here.
I am not the moderator on this, folks. No, I'm not. I'm gonna very deliberately stay out of this because you can do this any way you want. And if Kimberly, if you didn't get the result you wanted, you can go do what you want. You can say, okay, that team sucks because they wouldn't play along, but I'm gonna, whatever. I'm just saying. Hint. 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 Don't be afraid to ask for help. You don't know what the other team has. Just saying, anything goes. Listen up. Now. Stop. Listen up. Right now. Right now. And you're gonna have like 10 seconds to do this. Change your team. Change your team. You just change it up any way you want. Now, add a green element. Something environmentally non-destructive. Something in your ship has to be green. Now, make it accommodate an entire family. Now, new requirement. It has to go to Mars instead of just the moon. Are you guys ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
All right, is everybody ready? Okay. What a great exercise, and isn't it interesting you all built something totally different? So now I want each team to explain how they used the materials that they had and accomplished all of this. Okay, it's a rocket ship and we're going to Mars. Who's the spokesperson for your group? Okay, there you go. Okay, Jenny, first of all, Jenny's gonna start by, all right, sidebar. Oh, they're still working on it. Okay, see.
Time's up, guys.
Jenny's going to start
You
with
need to
what?
provide your deliverable now.
Yes, exactly. It's due. NASA runs on a schedule, okay? I would like you to describe, first of all, what were the materials that you were given to work with?
Okay, we got the Lego kit, we got glue sticks, we got a Hot Wheels car, and we got the reusable sealable bags, which are currently on the inside. That is where our fuel and food for our very long trip for the entire family.
For the entire family to go to Mars,
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So
The reusable bags are in there for what?
That's where the food and fuel and all of the
Storage.
all that you need to live to get to Mars.
To get to Mars, Okay. Anything to add? What's your green element? What's your green element?
Because we are using these reusable, room essential reusable snack bags, and our rocket is made from paper, totally recyclable.
Give it up for, you're not the ones anymore. Give it up for this table, that is awesome. The rocket is lightweight because it's made of paper. Awesome.
We will get to Mars before
Anybody else? Yeah. All right. Let's go here. We have first of all, wait. Who's your spokesperson? And then we have to start with what were you given? What were you given to work with?
Okay, so we were given a pair of tongs, a soup/coffee cup, a fake plant, and a beach ball.
And a defective beach ball.
And a defective beach ball.
It could not be blown.
We've come up with some
A patch.
creative modifications for it.
Okay, so those were the items. Okay, everybody got that? All right. So tell us about the rocket.
Okay, so for the rocket, aerodynamically
Clear. Yeah.
useful with the
Excellent,
tongs,
excellent.
to help penetrate the atmosphere.
Right.
So
Yes,
every
that's-
cool rocket ship or airplane has a pointed end. Right?
That's right. Unless it's
But
paper.
that's how engineers usually do it. And then
Oh. Now he's throwing education at us.
And then the cup represents the pod for the family to travel in.
Okay.
And then we spruce up our rocket ship a little bit with a little greenery from outside.
Was that purely decorative? The green?
So this is
And
the
air.
purpose for this too is like to purify the air.
Oh.
You know,
Okay.
so instead of your standard charcoal filter, we have something that's gonna clean the air.
Also pleasing to look
Pleasing
at.
to smell,
Yes.
And it's important to have this because this, the effective beach ball serves dual purpose. So it's so the green element of this is it collects the waste from the family members.
Ooh.
But then it converts it into fuel.
Oh.
Oh! Snap! Wow! Okay.
So when people say you can't make it to Mars with that design, we say, and they
Bull.
Bull.
they say your design is full of crap, and we will say,
Yes, it
a
is.
student option.
Yes, it is.
Awesome!
That proof will give us what we need to make it to Mars.
That's right. That is genius. Okay. Do you see the innovation? That's okay. So this table, tell us, whoever wants to share, tell us what the materials are that you were given. And I can also see that you improvised with materials that you were not given, but were accessible to you. And I said anything goes. All right. So using resources. Okay. So explain. What were you given?
We got some lame stuff. We got this little like silicone ice cube tray. We got some coasters. We got a box of chalk. We got a Lego, which was and a mug. So we had to acquire some green elements as well.
Well, somebody's bitter. Okay. All right. Not everyone agrees when we're building a rocket ship. Yes. All right. Okay, so you had to put a green element in.
Zach acquired this biodegradable element.
Ooh.
And then I went and got the non-biodegradable because we need these boosters to get to Mars.
That's right. They really need to work.
We needed more. You said Mars. We had to go, well, we need another level.
Yep.
So,
Level up, baby. Yep.
okay.
Extra afterburners on. Yeah.
Yeah, so so first off, our table is our first launch system here, which I just
Ooh.
added right now. Then we have our separating items. So this is our secondary booster, which actually is preset into our HVAC system to make sure it's cool. These pull off and separate
Certified.
before takeoff. Because keeping these cool, this is what will get us out of the atmosphere. Then it will separate again. These are our boosters to get us to Mars. This will separate. This is actually our landing device here, which is what is encompassing all of our supplies and green elements, which I shall yield the explanation of.
Okay. Please tell us.
We have
This is like a
cellophane
committee.
container here that desalinates and collects water and recycles, and then that moves into our layered and vertical green garden, which we will resource and bring down into the pod where the peeps are.
The fam. The fam. Yeah.
That's where everybody out of the box is. Right?
Everybody is out of the box and in a group, and then this is our solar and wind element for guidance as well as
What is that?
energy. It's a propeller and it's a solar.
Part of the Lego.
Yeah, it's all part of the Lego.
You got a
but
propeller.
We made it electronic as well as recyclable. Yay!
All right. Okay. Those are amazing rockets, and they're the best rockets. Legit, they're the best rocket ships I've ever seen. So, no, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. Okay. So, was that fun?
Yeah.
And also, didn't it make you, as a leader, this exercise replicates real life? Okay? When I go back to this, you have problems that come at you, we need new people. Or we need to change the team. They're not equipped, okay? Or you have problems that come at you and now there's a new requirement. Perhaps it's an environmental requirement, a city requirement, whatever. You have to have a green element, okay? Oh, now we have to make accommodations for a different type of group that was gonna be in there. We thought it was gonna be 2 astronauts, now it's a family. These are things that happen to your business all the time, is things are changing, right? Now you have to expand. Or, now something more is being asked of you. Now you gotta go to Mars, right? In business, you talked about the pivot, right? Was that your? Okay. In business, that's the stuff that comes at us, and this exercise replicates real life business, okay? Having to change. When I changed you up and changed the team, okay? All of a sudden you got to work with new people and you have to catch up. What were they talking about before you sat down? All of that. So hopefully this is just a helpful exercise that makes you realize you can do this, okay? And you do this in business, but leaders have to be able to be the ones who say, we can do this. Okay, I know this is weird, but this is going to be the base of the, You came up with great ideas. I mean, boosters, the whole thing. It's absolutely awesome. So, as I said, it replicates real life. My question to you is, how did you react? And you can write these, I would like you to write these down. Then the second question I have for you is, what did you personally do well in this exercise? And the third question I have is, what could you do better? Now that you've done the exercise and you've completed it, looking back on it, what could you have done better? All right. I also want to say before we share, and we're just going to share out real quick, that Kimberly, I thought it was very interesting, and in the spirit of this exercise replicates real life, that you had an idea that got shot down. Right? In business, people have good ideas all the time, and for whatever reason, the group does not accept that idea or take it on. or it languishes somewhere and just dies. But you had a good idea, and nobody took you up on it. And I think that also replicates business. So what's that?
I seconded the motion.
But it didn't get done. But okay, so you backed her, and that's and in corporations and in meetings and stuff, that's also life. You've got a couple people who are like, yeah, let's do it. And everybody else is like, nah. So Kimberly, real quick, we're going to do a lightning round here. Real quick, how did you react?
I said I think I reacted well to rejection.
Okay, awesome. What did you do well?
I thought I was able to be creative, and I said I improvised, added value through suggestions, and what I could do better was getting the team to actually collaborate.
Boom, okay, all right. And now, Janice, you. How'd you react?
Just kept moving forward and adapting.
Okay, good.
Keep moving.
New instruction, keep moving. Also business, yep.
What I do well, I think I was a pretty good team player. I
Boom.
listened and just kept doing the work.
And even when you didn't like it and you were bitter, you kept that in. You kept it inside. In any business situation, we are not always happy with what's going on, and it's unprofessional to okay, all right, carry on. All right, so what you did well was you improvised, right? Is that what you said?
And what I can do better, just be more creative in the process, use a more artistic mind. I have a banker mindset, so I'm more...
Black and white, adds up, doesn't add up, yep.
So trying to figure out how to use something differently.
Good for you. This is a good challenge then. Yep, okay. Unico.
I reacted with enthusiasm and excitement.
Boom.
It was really fun.
Okay.
What I do well is I adapt and think outside the box. What I could do better is actually getting more feedback. Janice was quiet after her rant. And I think I wanted to just push an agenda out without really listening. So
Okay, awesome. Okay, Zach.
My reaction was to focus on function and success by assessing the resources and the goal.
Ooh.
What I did well is I focused on the parts that I understood.
Okay.
And what I think I could do better is consider additional resources that we have available or alternative functions, things that the rest of us might have come up with.
Awesome. I really liked focusing on the things that I understand first. That's like a really cool thing. And I've never thought of that, and you've just given that to me or whatever. And then I also really like... I'll friend you. And then I also really like the fact that I never told you that you could use additional resources, but you grabbed whatever was handy, and you just went for it. And I said anything goes, so that was not off limits. So, okay. All right, Frank, what's up?
Yeah,
How'd you react?
Initially, I was like, this is dumb.
And isn't that true in business, right? There is always what we call in business a naysayer, or in fact, one worse than that is a derailer, right? So he was a naysayer. He was like, this is stupid. It can't be done. Whatever. All right. But you said you'd play along, so you're sticking to sticking to the agreements.
Quickly,
Yep.
right?
All right.
Yeah. And
What'd you do well?
what I do well, access the pain points and try to figure out how we could eliminate that.
The pain points of the rocket or your personal pain points?
You're making this personal.
Okay. All right. No, this is good though. Okay. So that's absolutely awesome. So pain points were on the rocket though, right?
Yes,
like what? Like how is this? What meaning? Like it's how are we going to get this thing in the atmosphere? Or how? What?
Absolutely.
Okay.
What are we solving?
Okay.
So yeah, I did
And
that.
then okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and lastly, what could I do better? Not allow myself to flip to a fixed mindset so quickly and grab a hold of a growth mindset and go.
Yep, okay, awesome. Lisa, how did you react?
So
She's got the floor. What's that?
thoughtful and creative,
Okay, cool.
and then
What could you do better, or what did you do well?
I adapted and I brainstormed options.
And what could you do better?
Make sure everyone gives input.
Ooh, okay, remember, this is an analogy exercise. We're talking about applying what all of this means to business. Can you say that last one again? Making sure?
Make sure everyone gives input.
Make sure everyone gives input. That's really smart. In business, you don't know it all. And even your whole team doesn't know it all. Or if they do know it all, you need to pull that information out of them and extract information from them, which is awesome. Great inclusion and also great ideas. All right, great. Okay, John.
All right, so
What was your reaction? How'd you react?
at first I just kind of looked around, like seeing what everybody was doing.
Ah.
And then, I liked
So
what
you're
they
going to
had.
be like that guy, I'm going to do whatever my competitor's doing here. This is business. This is business, and people do that all the time. They look at what their competitor's doing and go, we should do that.
Well,
Okay.
Yeah, that's true. But I liked that they were like going somewhere. I saw that they had a plan, and they're like starting to put something together.
So you went with the better employer. All right. Okay, good. What
Once I got here, I felt like I adapted quickly, listened to others' ideas, and we worked together well as a team. And what I could have done better, I think I could have contributed more. I know it all went pretty quickly, but yeah.
Okay, great. All right. Chalmers.
How did I react? I was initially excited.
Initially. Isn't that how business goes too? Great idea, let's do it. All right, you were initially excited. Okay, then what? Then what did you...
What did I do well? I maintained a positive attitude. On
Mmm.
the shift, I maintained a positive
Yep.
attitude. What I could do better is to offer some ideas, because I kind of began to shut down as I came in on the tail end of what was already created. My introvert began to show up big time.
And they've got this.
And they've got this.
Yes, they don't need me.
They were doing a great job, so I kind of just thought, I'm just going to sit back and see if somebody offers me something to do. So I kind of went into more of a servant mode and not
Yeah.
an idea person.
Not of what can I do to help, but I'm going to wait and see if they ask for help. Okay, that's awesome. All right. Jenny.
Okay, so my reaction was excited. Bring it on.
Girl likes a challenge.
That's right.
What did you do well?
What did I do well? I think what I did well was I stayed put, so that when I didn't know that was going to come, but when the people switched over, we got to an idea real quick as a group in the beginning with what we had, and so when everyone left, I stayed put so that there was some continuity.
Somebody has to. Nice.
So there was that coming over.
Awesome. What could you do better?
I think just checking in, it was going very fast and we had great ideas coming in. We had a very powerful group doing stuff, and so just maybe pausing for a moment and saying, anything, that would have been.
Check-ins are
So
on any
just
project.
see.
You don't wait till there's a problem. You check along the way, head off the problems. All right, Beata, what was your reaction? How'd you react?
Well, we started very well. We had an idea for our engine. We started doing stuff with James, and then you said switch. Shit.
All right. All right. So your reaction was disappointment? Your reaction was this is futile or what?
So I felt very good, and then there's a next challenge. So what I do with it?
Right.
And I think I was thrown into new group, new leaders, and I think I did good to accommodate and think to what they were already doing, and what else?
Okay, so you accommodated new ideas and adapted to what they were already doing.
They
Okay.
were already, Frank, he
was on a roll.
right away, so I could come and bring new ideas, but it looks pretty good.
They don't need me here, but I'm here if you need me. Yeah. No, I'm
I
kidding.
think it was good that I didn't try to start over, so I trusted
okay.
them that they figure it out, and I don't need to be
Okay.
smarty pants boss that comes, oh yeah, you are good, but let's
Something's
do it
in
my
process.
way.
Something was underway and you went with it. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, and then maybe how do you make it better? But it was already underway and you did not shelve that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
trusted into like.
Trust
with
your-
my team. I trust my
trust
team.
your team.
So it's important who is on the
Trust your team. Awesome. What could you have done better, Beata?
I think knowing myself, I could go around and see what else I can get to make it better for us.
Where's the innovation? What are other people doing? What's new? What's greatest? What's latest? Awesome. All right. Okay, James, wrap it up here. Well, how did you react?
Okay, so I'm accustomed to change, so it's like, okay, been there, done that, so, you know, how to continue to do more with less.
Okay.
That's kind of
All right.
my thought.
Be efficient. Yep.
And then what do you do? Well, just remain calm, flexible, embrace the change, look for opportunities versus obstacles, and you know, look for the positive in the situation.
And remain calm. A good leader has to remain calm. If you freak out, your people freak out. If you freak out, your clients freak out. So even, it's the whole fake it till you make it. Even if you are not calm, you got to be that duck on the water where underneath the water you're going like this, and on top it's like smooth, right? So, okay, what could you do better?
So I think someone else said it, ask my teammates for their thoughts and ideas, you know, rather than just jump into it based on, you know, my background, skill set, and so forth. And then I would have reached into my wallet, grabbed a 20, and paid Frank or Lisa to be the spokesperson.
Awesome. Okay, what I love about that, okay, all kidding aside, because every single thing that every one of you said is actually what you would do in business or might be called upon to do in business, right? And actually that one, even though it's funny, is know when you need to get outside help. Know when this is too much for you or you don't have the skill set. So it's funny, but it's also completely applicable because a good team knows, like, we don't have the skill set here, we don't have the talent, we don't have the education, we don't have the knowledge, whatever it is. Okay, well, I hope you had fun with that. Was that fun? Yeah. All right, give yourselves a hand. Okay. All right, so I want to just cover a couple of slides. Leadership is a choice, not an option. And what I really liked about that, what I like about this is a lot of people are not technically in leadership roles, right? Some are, some aren't. But that doesn't mean that you can't lead. Good leaders, whether they're in a position where that's a formal designation or not, lead by example. So regardless of your role, you have a choice to make every single day to be a leader. Now, the former chairman and CEO of IBM made this statement, and in today's world, I would have used a them, right, or a person's ability. But what he said was, nothing so conclusively proves a man's ability to lead others as what he does from day to day to lead himself, right? So we have to lead by example. And the other thing too is your clients and your employees are always watching you. Always. And it might be really subtle. I mean, they're not like watching you, but I mean, like, they see every move you make and they take their cues from you, okay? So good leaders do two things. Provide a sense of calm. Who is calm? You are calm, right? That is a very key leadership thing, and especially in a crisis or in tough times. No one knows what to do. They're going to look to you and go, what do you do? And if you're freaking, they're freaking. So they provide a sense of calm, and they make us feel safe, right? That's what good leaders do. They don't have all the answers, but they say, we're going to make it through this. We got this. So I'm going to need your input, right? No, I think it was Beata who said input, right? And then, so all of these are things that every leader does, is understand that no matter what you're doing, whether it's with clients, whether it's with new business, whether it's with your employees, is calm wins the day, and so does making people feel safe. You don't get much done when people are super nervous and scared. Yeah?
I saw amongst the group when here you have a room full of chiefs and maybe no Indians.
Correct.
And so when you're sitting in, but how easy it could have been for all of us to butt heads.
Right.
And I love that sense of calm and safety because as leaders, some of them, and Beata made a good point, she knew things were taken care of.
She trusted her team.
She trusted the team. She could step back. She's still a leader, but she didn't have to run the show. And same thing, everybody knew to be like, hey, we're good. So leadership not always has to be the voice. It could be the sense of...
Completely agree. Think about a conductor in an orchestra. They don't play. They conduct. They say horns over here, softer. Cellos. Okay? No, but they're not playing an instrument. They might have all the music theory education in the world, but they're not playing, but they're calling the shots, okay? So every leader, I mean, again, look at a football coach. The coach is not wearing a uniform and has shoulder pads on. He's on the sidelines coaching and et cetera. Okay, so calm and safe, when you feel calm and safe, to your point, Beata, that equals trust. And I love this little graphic because I think that's a lot of trust. Yes. So at some point when you're doing that kind of training for acrobatics, at some point, there's always a net under them, but at some point when you're learning, you have to let go. And you have to trust that your partner is in the exact place that he or she is supposed to be in, with their arms outstretched to catch you and the strength to hold you. That's a lot. And so that's trust. All right, when people trust you, they're going to follow your lead. They know that you have their best interests at heart. You also have your business's best interests at heart, but generally you can't do much without them. They believe in you. Don't ever lie to them. And they trust your judgment. So we go back to Beata. She came over to a new team and sized it up and said, I trust that these people know what they're doing, and how can I contribute? Okay? Now, 10 ways to lead in good times and in crisis. Because I think that in crisis it really calls upon these skills, and they're very visible, and they're very much on display. But these are not things that are just reserved for crisis times. These are just good leadership skills in good times and bad times. Number one is build trust. I love this. I mean, every management book, if you wander into a bookstore and you go over to the business books, every book is a management book is going to say, build trust. Okay? But how do you do that? In fact, social psychologists have said that there's not just one kind of trust, there's two. The first is called common trust. Common trust does not have to be earned. We grant it to people automatically, and it's usually people we don't know. It's the kind of trust that when you're driving down the road, you have to trust that the person on the other side of that road is not going to cross the median and hit you head on. You don't know who that person is. You don't know if they're a distracted driver. You have no choice but to just have faith that they are going to stay on that side, on their side of the road, and you're going to be okay. That's why it's called common trust, because we just grant it to people automatically. When you have lunch here today, you have to trust that the chef didn't poison us. Okay? So, no, I mean, I'm being facetious, but every single day we do things where our lives are literally in other people's hands. I travel a lot for business. Every time I get on a plane, I have to trust that my pilot is well-trained and well-rested. So this is called common trust. You can't think about this or your head will explode. But the kind of trust that leaders have is called vulnerability trust. And it breaks down walls, as you saw here, but it has to be cultivated. Just because you're the boss, people don't just automatically trust you, and it has to be reciprocated. So as a leader, you can't say to your team, trust me, if you don't trust them back. And what I love about this graphic is people usually focus on the woman with the apple on her head, and they think like, holy smokes. Think of the trust that she must have in that archer's aim. It has to be totally true, but he has to trust her too. Because if he takes that perfect aim, and at the last split second, she flinches, all bets are off. His measurements are off. Mm-hmm. So this only works if they have complete trust in each other, and both have to be vulnerable. So how do you build that? How do you build vulnerability trust? Talk straight, be honest, even when it's hard, and I would actually say especially when it's hard. That's good. Especially when it's hard, okay? So how many of you have ever had to give difficult news to someone? Here's what they say in business. Good news is a pleasure to give. Anyone can give good news. Hey, team, good news. Right? The real test of your leadership is how you actually delivered bad news or difficult news. And the thing is, we're adults. We can handle the truth. What we cannot handle is the runaround. And when someone is, and I've seen some very inexperienced leaders, they get into a role or whatever, and they have difficult news to convey, and they'll say things like, well, if it were up to me, Kimberly, or I hate to tell you this, but I'm not the one who made this. I mean, they're like bobbing and twisting all over the place. And what that employee is thinking is, just tell me. Because if I say to you, Beata, sit down, I have some difficult news. Number one, she's an adult. She can handle it. She might not like it, but she can handle it. Number two is, she's braced. Right? I just said, Beata, please sit down, I have some difficult news. She's braced. So, if I don't tell her what's going on, every one of us fills that void of what's going on in our heads with negative, worst-case scenarios. We never think it's positive. No, and we're going to actually probably go to something that's even worse than what you tell me. We go there naturally. Also, use simple language. I find it very interesting that some of the largest and most successful global companies, that when the chips are down and they have a problem to solve, They go to simple language. So let me give you an example. Toyota is one of my clients. Toyota will tell you that they don't sell cars. They make cars and trucks. Dealers sell cars. So they're very dependent on their dealer body to be successful. They make them, they sell them, okay? So it's a really important relationship. Well, trucks are their top sellers, and they're their highest gross profit vehicle, okay? So when truck sales are off, everything's off numerically and profit-wise because you cannot make up with Corollas and Camrys what you're missing on trucks, okay? Just the numbers don't work. So they needed truck volume. Truck sales were slipping. This is a big problem for the company. And what they did was they called the top 30 truck dealers in the United States together and to headquarters. I was at that meeting, and it went down exactly like this. The senior VP of sales walked into the meeting and thanked the dealers for coming, and then he simply said, we can't hit our sales numbers unless we hit our truck numbers. Now, you don't have to be in the automotive business or an automotive professional to understand exactly what the problem is, because it's clear and it's simple. So the dealers heard this and they were like, all right. So then he followed it up with another simple statement, which was, so what do you need from us to help you sell more trucks? The dealers put their heads together for about 20 minutes, and what they came up with was not rocket science. It's basic stuff. Product training, more inventory on the good stuff, more enhanced marketing funds. Please help us with that. Salesperson incentives and special promotions. This is not new, okay? This is basic stuff, but that's what they said they need. What I was floored by, this was the most high-level meeting I'd ever been at in my life, and there were no charts, there were no graphs, there was no PowerPoint. It went down exactly like that. We can't hit our sales numbers unless we hit our truck numbers. What do you need from us to help you sell more trucks? Problem solved. Wow. Simple, global, okay? So when a company like Toyota can bring it down to that, that is great communication and it fosters trust. Why does it foster trust? Because when someone is talking to you that clearly and simply, there's nothing to hide behind. Nobody's going to walk out of that meeting and go, I wonder what they were trying to say. What do you think he meant by that? I mean, it's so clear. It's right there, okay? So in the moment, give difficult news and give it to people straight. They can handle it. They're going to have a reaction, but they can handle it. And keep it simple. Also, of course, lead by example, walk the walk. Model the behavior, the attitudes, the mindset, and the judgment that you want other people to have. Show me, don't tell me. You can do all the training in the world that tells people stuff, but the actions that you take every single day lead by example. And that's where Joe started this morning when he was saying, get out into the community and act like a leader. Okay? And so it's when you do that, other people are going to look at you and go, wow, successful business person owns his own business and like, wow, he's out here and he's supporting the community, he's supporting this or that or whatever. I should probably do more of that too. Your influence and your reputation are established by consistency, okay? So you can't just do good one day and then you're like not that great the rest of the time. Consistency cultivates reliability. When you think about somebody who's reliable in your life, they're reliable because you can count on them, because their behavior and their actions are consistent. Inconsistency will ruin a reputation quickly because it means that you are unpredictable. Who wants an unpredictable leader? Not me. I need stability in my life, all right? I want to know that like this ship is not sinking here. We got this, right? Consistency works slowly. You build that reputation of being dependable and consistent over time. It's not just built in a day. That's the whole point of consistency, is that you do it all the time. And so people can learn to rely on you. Consistency shows dedication. Think about someone who is consistent in their workout, or consistent in their diet, or consistently goes to their church or temple or synagogue or mosque or whatever. It means you don't cut corners. You hold yourself to a certain standard no matter how much extra work or time that it requires. Some days are good, some days are bad, but you consistently do the job, all right? And this is important. Choose consistency over perfection. And perfection is the enemy of speed. We saw this during COVID. The companies that kind of like start, halt were the ones who were like, yeah, we should probably do that, but it's not perfect yet. Who cares? Go. Perfection is the enemy of speed. There are times when you are going to have to make fast decisions, and maybe your business depends on it, or your clients, like what we've been through. Just go. You can always adapt as you go along. But consistency is better than perfection. All right, be flexible. Look at that. And that concludes my presentation. I mean, seriously, how does anybody do this? It's unbelievable. But as you showed in the exercise, you had to be flexible. Not only flexible with each other's input and opinions, but like, okay, wait, maybe this doesn't work. Maybe this works instead, or whatever. I mean, you were constantly looking for new ways. Leaders adapt. How many of you, when I said, what did you do well, you said, I adapted, or in that word or any other word, I adapted. Leaders adapt. They don't hold stringently to one way of doing things because sometimes the world has other plans, okay? Being flexible means that others are going to find you approachable. If you just stick to the one way that we do things, this is how we do it, we've always done it that way, and this is the way that we're going to do it, no one's ever going to approach you with a new idea because you've demonstrated that you're inflexible and closed off to that. And negotiation and compromise are clear demonstrations of flexibility. So who was it that negotiated with? Frank tried to buy a book from me for less than the price. But I respect that because he's like, all right, I want what you've got. Will you give me a price accommodation or something like that, right? But that was a clear sign of his flexibility and mine. We can come to a shake. Yes. We can come to a shake if we are both flexing and accommodating, right? When someone's being stubborn, what do? You work with them to find a mutually acceptable solution. People don't always win. Okay, if you think about world peace or world affairs, those world leaders, when they go to the G8 or the G, they're going with the idea of negotiation and how do we get to something that we can all agree on or all do. They're not going, there's it, there it is, take it or leave it. We have to live together and we have to work together so we find mutually acceptable solutions, and we might have to give a little on that. All right. Don't isolate or alienate yourself. You see this with a lot of junior people who get promoted to a new position and they suddenly feel like they can't go have lunch with their buddies anymore because they've left them behind or maybe they're supervising them. That's a really bad idea. Some mistakenly believe that they should be aloof or distance themselves once they're a leader. That means I can stay objective. You don't need to be objective. You need to be in this. Okay? Leaders go out of their ways to have personal exchanges with employees because that's how you get information. The magic happens in the hallway. Yes. The magic happens in the break room. Right? That's where the magic is. And good leaders have their ear to the ground. They talk to people. And personal relationships cultivate a sense that you are on the team with your leader or your leader is with you. And people are more receptive when they feel like you're receptive to them. So, quick group exercise. This one's going to go fast, really fast, and you're not going to overthink it, okay? So I had a boss one time that did this, and it was a game changer. I was working on the Subaru account for a large global ad agency for Subaru, and it was a huge team of us that worked on this in every way. Graphics, design, strategy, media planning, all that kind of stuff, you name it. So there were about 60 of us on the Subaru team at this ad agency. And I knew many of them, but there were a couple that I really didn't interact with because my role just didn't interact with theirs very much. I saw their names on emails. I kind of knew who they were in the hallways, and we'd be like, hey, But that was it. Like, I really didn't know anything. And my boss, our boss, pulled us all together one time, 60 people in a huge conference room, and said, don't sit down. Don't sit down. If you say don't sit down, everybody knows this is going to be quick. Don't settle in. Don't push back in your chair. And he said, all of us work on this account, and we all have a vision for Subaru, and we're all working toward the same goal. But some of us don't know each other very well. And it would benefit us if we actually knew each other a little bit better. And what he said was, I want everyone to go around the room, went really fast, share something about yourself that the others are not likely to know. And then he was like, you don't have to tell us about your felony arrest, but share something that the others are not likely to know. And again, every conversation we ever had at work was business, okay? So here's what happened. One woman said, I can do a proper English curtsy. And so we're like, let's see it. And she's down on the floor doing this, okay? It was a strange thing, but she knew how to do that, okay? There's a proper way. You don't go down too low, and you don't stay up too high. This is it. One woman said, when I was in my 20s, I used to be a hand model. You don't think that's interesting? I mean, like, I'm pulling her aside, like, what's your moisturizer, right? I mean, like, a hand model, right? Like, what an interesting thing that was, right? And one guy said, my wife and I are in the process of adopting a little baby girl. And everybody did exactly what you did, Janice. Everybody went, oh. But what it also did is it changed the way that I saw, his name was Mark. It changed the way that I saw Mark, because Mark was in accounting, and suddenly I no longer saw him as just a capable accountant. I saw him in a different light as a doting dad. And every time I saw him, it also gave me an anchor, right? Every time I saw him in the hallway, Mark, how's your little girl doing, huh? How's she doing? And he's like, oh my gosh, she's learning that ABC song, driving us nuts, you know, sings it all day long or whatever. And for 2 years, I talked to Mark about his little girl. And of course, then that springboards into other things, right? But it enriched the relationship in ways that had nothing to do with business, but brought us together as people, okay? So let's do this. Let's do this. We're going to do it super quick. Anything works. Don't overthink it, right? Share something about yourself that the others are not likely to know, and I'll go first. Okay, I outed myself on the cello. Okay, but that would have been my thing, where I would have said, I'm learning to play cello. And everybody would have been like, oh, how cool. And then the magic in the hallway would have been like, how did you get into that, right? But there's another thing that I took up, and that is I'm a boxer. Not kickboxing, boxing. There's a difference. As my coach would say, there is no kicking in boxing. Okay? So you've never seen Muhammad Ali in the ring, you know. Okay? So I took up boxing, and I've been doing it for 3.5 years now, and I'm getting pretty good. I can also do the speed bag like you wouldn't believe, okay? And I changed my body completely. I'm starting to look like a dude, I think, there. But I do have, I do have unbelievable muscle definition that I mean, like, I'm 61, okay? So I've never had muscles like that. I'm in the best shape of my life. And I also adopted a new best friend. This is my coach, Randy. And he started off as my coach, but we have actually become very, very close, as coaches do, because they become very important in your life. You learn way more than the sport, right? So that's what I've done. And I told you I'm learning to play the cello. That's Kenny, my extremely bizarre but gifted instructor. And that is me playing for the very first time at home. You can see I don't even have fingers on the chords because I didn't know that yet. I was just learning how to bow. And that is me buying my cello, which was a commitment, right? Because if you buy it instead of rent it, you're in, right? And my goal, and I think it's so interesting. Janice, you asked that. I say I have a slide for this. My goal is not to be performing. My goal is to move from I'm learning to play the cello to I play the cello, right? So there I am outside. I love being outside doing this, and I did it in the mountains 2 weeks ago. So I bring my cello a lot of different places or whatever. So that's me. I just shared 2 things with you. Share something that the rest of the group is not likely to know about you. Don't overthink it. That's awesome. See what we learned about each other? And it wasn't having to be like super vulnerable, you know, whatever. But I think it's important in business that we get beyond just the jobs that we have or the tasks that we do. And actually, and you can ask this of anybody. You can even ask it of a new client. I'll say something like, tell me something interesting about you, or tell me what you do for fun, or, you know, just trying to get to the next level. Listen to others. This is under the skills, right? Listen to others. And we did this during the exercise. Encourage people to speak up, especially if they don't voice their opinions, right? Good leaders know who the introverts are in the room. And they can be some of the most valuable people, but they're not necessarily the ones that are going to go, I have an idea. So a good leader turns to that person and says, Lisa, what do you think about this? And pulls them out, okay? Also respect everybody's opinion, right? So I thought that was kind of cool. I know you didn't get what you wanted with your suggestion or whatever, but I thought it was kind of cool that I didn't hear, I was listening to all of you, I didn't hear anybody say, that's a stupid idea, right? You were coming together and crashing together with all kinds of weird ideas, and everybody had listened and acknowledged, and that's really, really important, everybody's opinion, even if you don't take their advice or their idea. And that creates that atmosphere of mutual trust, mutual respect, and mutual teamwork, which you all did. Coach and mentor others, Charmus, okay? So everybody, I firmly believe that everybody needs a coach in their life, and I didn't know how badly I needed a coach until I got Randy, my boxing coach, because believe me, he's taught me a lot more than boxing. He's taught me a lot about life, and I've learned a lot about myself through what he's pushed me through and what I'm capable of. I can do 3 pull-ups unaided. Yeah, that's a lot, actually, yeah. So that's not a lot, but I mean, I couldn't do any 3 years ago. So when people are new to an organization, or, you know, take time to truly show them the ropes if you're working with other people, even if they don't report to you. You don't have to be their direct supervisor to show them the ropes. You can say something like, you know what, I've been here for 20 years. If you need anything, let me know. I know everybody, or in Frank's case, I'm the mayor of this town and I know everybody. Yeah. But also it's helping, because leaders are not afraid to see other people succeed. Only followers look at competition, look at others as competition, right? So let the hand of leadership always be there. Provide feedback and ask questions. People often think that if you're not their direct boss or the boss or whatever, that you can't provide feedback, and I think it's just not true. I think it's easy and always appreciated to say, hey, you did a great job in there.
Absolutely.
You don't have to be the boss to say that. As a coworker, you can just say, great job, okay? Or questions. Hey, I heard the deadline on the Johnson project just got moved up. What are you up against? Is there anything I can do to help, etc., okay? What are your concerns if we try this? I want to get your perspective before we start. Right? Questions are good. They convey respect, and they also, of course, open up the dialogue, and leaders are never afraid to get new perspective and to have that conversation. Demonstrate leadership values. All great leaders. Winston Churchill, Abraham Lincoln, pick a leader you admire. They act with integrity. That's about the consistency thing. I personally believe that integrity is not situational. If you have integrity, it's an absolute. You do the right thing all the time. You don't do it sometimes, and then there's exceptions. No, it doesn't work like that. They drive for results, and they negotiate for consensus. And that's important too. They negotiate for consensus. Again, think about world leaders. We don't just get to run the world. We work with other world leaders to make sure that we're doing the best for all of us. And then when things get chaotic, good leaders keep their head calm, drive for results, and continue to uphold the organization's integrity, no matter what. So if there's a conflict, a good leader also steps in to try to negotiate, not necessarily resolve, negotiate. So you'll set yourself apart and learn to lead at all levels of any organization if you follow these values, which again are not situational. They're an absolute. Agree to disagree. This is really important. It's going to take 1 second, but nobody likes to talk about this, but I do. I was raised to be very, very polite, and my parents told me, when you don't agree with someone and you just can't get there, then you say, let's agree to disagree, shall we? The problem with that is it doesn't work. These words are polite, but they don't work. If I say to you, Zach, let's just agree to disagree, shall we? Right? Number one, it comes across as really snotty. And essentially, I'm saying to Zach, you're too stupid to see that I'm right. Okay? And the third thing is, and most importantly, it's a conversation ender. Right? Because if I say, Zach, let's just agree to disagree, shall we? And if he says yes, we're done here. I don't think that's good for business. I think especially when we don't agree, we need to keep driving, not necessarily for agreement. Maybe we're never going to agree. But we need to keep the conversation going to understand why we don't agree or what the perspectives are. So here's a better way. I see it differently. I see it differently is not antagonistic. It's not judgmental or superior. I'm not saying I'm right, Zach, and you're wrong. I'm not being combative. And I'm not even trying to persuade you over to my point of view. I'm simply making a declarative statement of I see it differently. And so now I want you to say to me, Kelly, I see it differently.
Kelly, I see it differently.
Tell me how you see it, Zach. And we are having a conversation extender. Very. How much time do you have? But seriously, it's not a shutdown, it's an opening. I see it differently. The other person is probably going to say something along those lines. Tell me how you see it, what's going on, etc. Look at this graphic. Is it 606 or is it 909? It's both. Depends on how you see it. It's possible for two people to look at the exact same thing and see it differently. So I don't believe in shutting conversations down. All right, be a hero. Be a hero. Just be a hero to your customers, your employees. Empathize with the pain. Go the extra mile. Solve problems if you can. And this one's also very important. Solutions, not excuses. So real quickly, I had my house remodeled. I'd never done anything like that. Master bath and kitchen at the same time. Okay, so everything costs more than you ever think. Everything takes longer. You're completely convinced that your house is never going to be clean again. And it is what I've learned is that process is riddled with problems, all kinds of problems that you don't know going in. And I had that, but I had the world's greatest contractor, and what made him great is that every single time we're walking around and I'd point something out and I'd be like, is that supposed to look like that? He would say the 5 words that I care about, the 5 words that you care about, the 5 words that any of us care about, and those 5 words are, we'll take care of it. He didn't explain to me how it happened. I don't care. No, I don't care. He didn't tell me that the tile was still in Buffalo and it'll be here in a couple weeks. Those are his problems, and they're very real to him. They're not my problems. So what we want to do as competent people is explain away the incompetence in a mistake. We want to say, well, our server went down. I'm so sorry, right? I don't care. I really don't care that your server went down. Okay? No, I don't. What I care about is what are you going to do about it, right? So you can always explain later if you've got a customer, a client, or a coworker or something like that who is going, tell me how this happened. Sure, then you can tell them how it happened. But 99% of the time, you'll just get there by just saying, that's not our way. You know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry goes a long way. A long way. I'm sorry, that's not our way. By saying that's not our way, you're also communicating, we know we dropped the ball. Okay, we made a mistake. I'm sorry, that's not our way, and we'll take care of it. And that will smooth over, but then for crying out loud, you can't say those words and then not. Okay? We're going to talk about this real quickly so you can ponder this over lunch. Once again, there's no right or wrong answers. It has to be somebody public. I'm going to come back to you and say, well, let's talk about this. So you can't say your mom. Okay, no, it's too easy. It's too easy. No, seriously, I've been in rooms where people do this exercise and every single person in the room is like, I really admire my sister or mom. So it has to be somebody public, okay? And they can be dead or alive. And what have you learned from that person? And how would that person handle a crisis in your mind when you think about the admiration that you have for somebody? Okay. Wow. All right, that was great. Do you want me to share mine? Yes. Maya Angelou. And you got emotional, so I can't get through this without getting emotional. But she said so many wise things. But the one that hits my heart is, do the best you can until you know better. Yes. And then when you know better, do better. So that's, anyway. Isn't it interesting, though, that like we all have people that we admire, and you were so able to concisely explain why it hits your heart, you know, and I think that's really important. And that's another thing, that's another exercise you could do with teams at any time, which is just like, who do you admire? It's a safe question. Who do you admire and why?
I actually do this around the dinner table.
Do you really? And I think the other thing, too, is we were talking about the word crisis, and crisis is really strong, but it could be replaced with the word problem. How would they handle a problem, you know? And I love the Southwest thing because this goes back to get input from everybody, right? Get input from everybody. Then everybody has a little bit of skin in the game. Of course they want that flight to go well. They're part of the crew, you know? All right. Okay. Let's see if this is still working. Here we go. Own your mistakes. I think the best leaders do not ever brush this off. We all make mistakes. Leaders make mistakes all the time. I'll tell you one that's really big, and it's in my book on It's Time to Talk About Race at Work. You can look it up in the appendix under Levi Strauss. So Levi Strauss, we all know that company. It's a global company, and Chip Bergh is the CEO. And somebody asked me in an interview one time, who would you love to have breakfast with? And I said, Chip Bergh, CEO of Levi Strauss. And they said, why? And I said, because after George Floyd died, and I'm not going to make this political or social or activism, I mean, this is just the facts. After George Floyd died, he took a hard look at the company of Levi Strauss, which is global. And he said, you know, we're in the fashion business. So we like to think of ourselves as very forward-thinking. We sell jeans and fashion all over the world. And yet, we don't have a level playing field here at Levi Strauss. The people who sell our products in the stores and fold jeans for a living and put them on the shelves have no path to get to corporate. No path to get to corporate. And so he said, he made a lot of changes. Basically what that did to him was make him reflect deeply on what he could do better to not only make the world a better place, but Levi Strauss. So some of the things that he did to make the world a better place is give everybody June 19th off. This was before it became a federal holiday. So he was giving everybody June 19th off. Give everybody the day off to vote. So whether you vote or not, you have the opportunity, right? Making it accessible to everybody. And then they put in LSU, Levi Strauss University, which is where employees at retail stores who usually in that world can only go to district manager or regional manager or whatever. They don't get to go to corporate where a lot of the strategy is learned, right? To create a path for, LSU, for Levi Strauss University, for people to learn the business of business, and a number of other things. And then he published that as a letter to his employees. And there were 19, I believe it was 19 things that he said, we're going to change around here. So I just gave you about 4 or 5. There's tons. And then that letter went viral. And it was published. There's nothing to hide in there. He didn't have any proprietary stuff. And it went viral. And now a lot of companies are doing that. But he, to me, was the first on a global stage of a company that size to just say, we think we're so progressive because we're in fashion, like we're always like forward thinking and stuff. And he's like, we're not a good company. Like we can do better, And I just love, I never once thought about the people who sell the product that makes them successful do not have a path to corporate and all that is. So I just yeah. So his name is Chip Bergh, Bergh. And if somebody's got a book next to you, just look it up seriously, it's like 1 page in my book where I just said something about what he did. But he's the CEO of Levi Strauss. I have tagged him at least 3 times in my LinkedIn post, and he has not responded. I sent him a note through LinkedIn that said, I featured you in my best-selling book and actually included the list of the number one, that I was number 1 on the business book bestseller. And I said, I would be happy to send you a book. I would be honored to send you a book. No reply. You know what? I thought of that. Yep, exactly. And the thing is, I'm sure he has a wall of people around him, did you know that Steve Jobs, was on the spectrum? A lot of people didn't know that because he was so buffered. Do you know what I'm saying? Like he had such an entourage, he had so many people around him that we didn't know until later until he died, that he had a tremendous problem, with being on the spectrum. And of course, it turned into genius, but in terms of interacting with people, it was a little tough for him. So, okay, own your mistakes. Let's talk about this. All right, everybody makes mistakes. You're going to make them, I'm going to make them, your people are going to make them, your clients are going to make them, your suppliers are going to make them. Seeking responsibility means that you fully accept responsibility for your actions, what the part of that is, okay? That's what adults do, first of all, but it's what leaders definitely do. So when you make a mistake, own it, and then make suggestions for the change next time, and move on. This is the big part. Don't wallow in it. Leaders don't wallow in it. They go, yep, we screwed that up, we can do better. And they move on. And that's what people want you to do. They don't want you to go, oh my gosh, we screwed that up. I don't know how that happened. Oh my gosh, I don't think we're ever going to be recovered. I'm so embarrassed. Nobody wants that. We want you to move on. So taking responsibility earns you trust and respect. Your boss, your team, anyone will know that your client will know that you don't pass the buck, okay? So we all know this, right? We all know this, the people who are like this. If the result is good on something, they go, yeah, that was my idea, right? And if the result was bad on somebody, well, that was clearly Zach's job. I had nothing to do with that. No, I'm serious. Toyota, one of my biggest clients, actually my biggest client, has a phrase for that, and they call it either Teflon person or Velcro person. And Teflon person is nothing sticks to me, okay? All your mistakes, not on me. And Velcro person is everything sticks to me, right? So even the things that don't necessarily belong to you, you Velcro them and go, yeah. I know, Kimberly had a really good idea, and then I finessed it. Seriously, so you don't want to be that person. You just want to be honest, and you want to be transparent, and you want it, when you mess up, own it. People respect it. It also shows them how they can own their own mistakes. Again, Julia Childs, if she can mess up, we can mess up, and it's not the end of the world, So that's really important. Show others that you see the big picture, okay? And this is, again, for people who are in leadership or not. When you have an idea, try to think cross-functionally. I think that's another thing that leaders do is they don't always have the experience. Again, the coach of the football team was not a former linebacker necessarily, but they have the ability to see what's really going on, what the other team's weaknesses are, what the other team's go-to plays are, all that kind of stuff, and they conduct, right? They conduct. So if you have an idea, try to think about it cross-functionally, because your client or your team is going to see that you're thinking about more than just yourself or your department or your sale or your better business, report that you're doing or whatever it is, that you're thinking big picture, that you did your homework, That counts for a lot. A lot of people just cut corners on that. And that you helped your boss or your team or your client do their best work. Because when you present an idea to somebody and you say, here's how I thought about it. Like, I'm in sales. Let's say you're in the sales department for Nationwide Insurance, okay? You're a salesperson, right? A sales agent. I'm in sales, and I thought of this idea, and even though I'm in sales, I don't really have anything to do with that idea, with your department or whatever, but I thought about it, and I thought, well, this is would work really well for me, but I'm not sure how we could execute that where it works on your end. Talk to me about that. I mean, boom, that's leadership thinking. All right, it's real easy to just cocoon within our own worlds and our own problems and our own skill sets and stuff, and that's not how leaders think. They try to think about how all the puzzle pieces fit together. So, 3 criteria that impact decision making, all leaders, okay? Time. How much time do we have, right? Just how much time do we have? Are we launching this product next spring? Are we in a pandemic right now and we need to pivot now? I've just been so impressed by how people handled the pandemic. I saw restaurants in my neighborhood that started advertising and marketing a complete to-go meal, like the kind that you would have at the restaurant, but they're like, okay, here's the shrimp, here's the garlic, here's the butter, here's the this. You can't come into the restaurant because we're closed. We haven't quite figured out the whole delivery thing or pickup thing, but here's all the ingredients, and they had perishable food. All these restaurants had perishable food. Sell it or lose money, right? And so they were like, here's your Insta dinner. You have to make it, but we'll show you how. And they included directions and stuff. That's a pivot. And so I think that time is a big thing, and we either have a lot of it or we have not enough of it, but time is a big resource consideration. And then resources. So I really loved, was it you? Was it James who said, what do we not know? Or when we were doing the exercise, someone said, I think it was you, James. I think you were concluding and saying that what you learned from it is, what do we not have here at the table? What expertise or insight or knowledge? And I pivoted to that and said, know when you know help. Know when you know to get help. Yeah. So my husband is pretty handy. He can do the basic things about home maintenance. But one of the things I most admire about him is he knows when to call in a professional. No, I'm serious. He knows when it's outside of his wheelhouse. And so, he's not going to paint the house. We don't have the ladders. He doesn't have the ability. He doesn't have the experience. He doesn't want to do that. So he can do little things around the house that fix it up or whatever. But when the sprinkler system is broken, and I know many men who would just get out there and fix it, but he's like, I don't know anything about sprinklers, so I'm just going to call in. So know when you know that you need help. And requirements, what are your bosses or your team's priorities? What laws, policies, administrative criteria has to be followed? You would probably live in this world quite a lot, I would think. And what are the project requirements fixed? Are the project requirements fixed, or can they change? All the variables, okay? These are the things that decisions are made on. They're not made on emotions. They're not made on feelings. You can feel great about it, but this is how leaders go. Do we have the time? Do we have the resources? And do we have the requirements, addressing these components, okay? Also, any person in sales ever, or in a family, knows how to adapt your styles to get results, right? As a kid, you learn very quickly as a kid when to ask mom and dad for permission and when to not, right? If you've ever had a boss and you were trying to ask for a raise or a promotion or something like that, you chose your timing very well. We know how to read the room. All right, so adapt your style to get results. And so I use this a lot in business training for people, which is think about how the other person operates. If that other person is a morning person and you're not, that person, if you're a morning person and that other person is not, don't schedule a meeting at 8 in the morning. They're not at their best. Schedule it at 1. Schedule it at 11:30, just know and adapt to that, right? I had a boss one time who was what I call a ponderer. If I needed a decision on something by Thursday, I had to get with him on Monday, give him information, and he needed a chance to either come back to me with questions or sleep on it. Okay, so I adapted. I was kind of like, okay, you can't just throw something at this guy. He doesn't process like that. Then I changed jobs. I'm in the exact same job at a different company, and my boss could not be more different. He was like a ready, fire, aim, And so I'd have an idea, and he'd be like, go, good idea. Tell me how it comes out. And I was like, don't you want like some backup on that? Nope, go. Tell me how it comes out, you know? And so I was like, I went from this pondering and having to make a case for it and data and all this to this guy who was just like, get it done, Cal. Okay. So do they need to ponder, or do they prefer team meetings? Or do they prefer one-on-one? And do they prefer email to discuss things, or would they rather have a face-to-face conversation? I think we've really seen that over the last couple of years. Some people want to Zoom, even if they just want to say good morning to you. I'm over it, okay? Like, no, I really am. Here's why. One of my best friends and I, she's a speaker too, and she was like, since when did the Zoom call become a call? It's now a call. For decades, we did business over the phone just fine. But now if I say, Frank, do you want to have can we have a call next week to talk about this? And he says, yes, boom, here comes a link. And I'm like, I didn't say that. And personally, this is a rant, okay? No, personally, I get that sometimes, especially when we're not around each other as much as we'd like to be, that it's really important to see people's faces and things like that, okay? But I also think it's really healthy to step away from your computer. And you can't do that if you are tethered to that green light all day. And I had a client of mine, and I actually asked people their preferences. I'll be like, how do you want to do this? Do you want me to call you? And they're like, yeah, let's have a call. And I'm like, do you want a video call or a regular call? Do you want it in the morning or do you want it in the afternoon? You know, would you rather just meet up and we'll just go get some air and go for a walk around the block or something? I can't tell you how many people, when I give them options and I say, would you rather have a video call or a call? They will say, I have one client who said, can we just have a call? Yeah. And I was like, yeah. And she was like, because if I can just have a call, I can walk around my house and give you my full attention and water my plants. Or sit outside. I mean, it is so not healthy for us to just sit there locked onto these computers. I can't even get up and go to the kitchen and get a cup of coffee. You know, it's like, so be cognizant of that, okay? Be cognizant of that when you're working with people and try to adapt to what they want. I actually give people options, okay? So a lot of people will actually be like, do we really need a call? Can you just email me? And if I have questions? I mean, seriously, we got a little too chummy during the pandemic, I think. You don't need to see me all the time, okay? So being familiar with how somebody likes information or how they make decisions is a really good thing, and good leaders know that. Okay, this is for you to teach to your people, or if you've done this, stop it. Always present options, okay? Because nobody likes to be backed into a corner. So it's very good for you to have your recommendation. Here's my recommendation. But I better have something in my hip pocket in case you shut that down. Because then I don't want to have to come back and start all over again, right? So have options. I think a good thing to do is to present 3 different courses of action so that somebody can make a decision with your recommendation. You don't just go, here's 3 ways we could do this. You could say, I gave this a lot of thought, and here's 3 ways that I can think of that we can proceed on this. And my recommendation is to do this, but I wanted to share with you my thinking process. You get credit for the thinking, even if you don't do it. You get credit for the fact that you thought through it all. Have a backup plan, okay? Sometimes you just hit somebody at the wrong time, all right? And they shut down a perfectly good idea because they're having a bad day, they don't have the headspace for it, whatever it is. So be able to pivot, have a backup plan. In case your boss or your client or anybody on your team is having a bad day and just does not like anything you suggest, you need to have a contingency plan, okay? And having one demonstrates that you think like a leader, which is, I thought this might happen, so I actually have a thought about that, all right? Again, good leaders are not just living in the moment. They're living in the moment and one step. It's like driving. When you think about driving, and do this on your way home, try to drive looking at the front of your hood. You cannot do it. Driving is about looking at the whole road ahead of you, what's coming at you and what's on hold. You would think that driving is about looking at the hood of the car right there in front of you. Don't go. And so, like, okay, so I should just watch that. No, you can't drive. You literally, I tried it one time. It's like, I was scared. I was like, I could do it for like 2 seconds. So you have to look at the horizon, right? All the time to see what's coming. And good leaders do that. Okay, this is the one. If you do this, stop. And if you have people on your team, tell them this, okay? Stay publicly loyal no matter what. You think about leaders and sometimes the crises that they've had, the S shows that land in their lap, you know what I'm saying? And what do? They don't throw anybody under the bus. They don't go, well, that was, they take ownership and they go, that's not how we do things. and blah, 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 and we're working to fix it. And they own it. They not only own it, but they stay publicly loyal. So you get this a little bit with younger employees, younger teammates who go out for beers with their friends, and they're either bragging about their job or complaining about their job, right? So never complain publicly about your team or your company or your clients. There's two people in the whole world that I will talk to about my clients if I'm having problems with them or we're having a difficult relationship, and one is my husband and one is my best friend. You will never hear me say anything bad about Toyota. I mean, they're actually a really awesome company, but even if they weren't, you're not going to hear from me. That's a client of mine. I defend them, Also, I'm not stupid. So, just saying. So the other thing about it is you might think you're confiding in somebody, but this stuff gets out. It just does, okay? And your personal integrity is then compromised, all right? So we all have our bad days, and we have people we don't like to work with and all those kinds of things, and those are okay, but just stay publicly loyal. Associates who conduct themselves like a cohesive team always have the greatest private influence. And that's what leaders have. They have private influence. When they're in a meeting, you want your voice heard. You want to be that person in a meeting that when you say something, people go, oh, Lisa really thought about that. Like it carries weight. And so if you're publicly disparaging the very company that feeds you, or your clients, et cetera, you lose that voice. You become petty. And it's like, leaders don't do that. I mean, the world's not perfect. You're going to work with great people. You're going to work with people who are not so great. You're going to work with great, smart people. You're going to work with stupid people. You're going to work with everybody, and you don't disparage that. That public loyalty is what buys you private leverage. So that if I pull Beata into a private meeting at the company, and I say, so Beata, we are having a problem in the IT department, and I think we both know it. Blah, blah, blah. I never disparaged the IT department in the hallways. I never complained about, but I can have private leverage here with Beata, and I'm just say peer-to-peer, professional to professional. As you know, we're having a huge problem with the guy in IT. He's not working out. Blah, blah, blah. We're going to need to make some changes. And that has way more weight than somebody who's going, oh my gosh, this IT department is so bad. Like, where's the other guy? He was great. And, whatever. So this is really important. I mean, it's all about how we present ourselves. Leaders present themselves. And I'm not talking about being inauthentic. I'm just talking about understanding what your role is and stepping into that role. You have to think of yourself like as presidential. And I don't mean president, I mean just presidential, So it's kind of like dating, where they say, if you're dating a guy and he's nice to you but rude to the waiter, he's not a nice guy. So that's what you want to go for, is you want to go for the nice guy all the time, right? That you are who you are, not situational. All right, okay. Interactive exercise. Purposeful play fosters creativity. You saw that this morning, okay? So I'm going to give you 3 hypothetical things. I mean, I'm not going to give them to you. There's pictures of them. You're going to work at your table. And I would suggest, honestly, the two of you just join the table. What did this table talk about? How can you use these everyday objects in a meeting? Virtual or real?
Well, one idea I had was using that umbrella, flip it upside down, and now it becomes kind of like catches your suggestions, or you have everyone bring an idea or something and toss it in the umbrella.
Fabulous.
Another idea I had was that
real or metaphorical, doesn't matter, right? Yeah.
The paperclip is currency, and you can earn paper clips. And if you present something, you share something, whether it's accepted or not, but you communicate it out loud, especially as like introverts as we are. You get a paper clip, and those paper clips you earn so many, and then they're worth something. You turn them in for 30 minutes extra for lunch, or something.
I just love this. I just love this. Okay, and what is the coffee cup for?
It's for coffee, man.
Okay.
And tea for me.
Tea for her.
Yes.
That's absolutely awesome. Okay, tell us what your idea was for how to use these things in a meeting.
Actually, to go right off the coffee cup comment, Kimberly was awesome because she said coffee represents energizing and how you energize someone. So the coffee cup could be one of those things where you throw in, let's say, and the example in our group was Frank was having a bad day or some situation. You can put great comments or the love notes, some cash, whatever, to energize Frank. And so it could be kind of that little.
That's cool.
thing. So that's.
Yep, all right. Is that what your whole table decided?
Yes.
Okay. You want to hear what I've heard with other groups? The ideas are just wild. Your imaginations are so amazing. So Siemens, S-I-E-M-E-N-S, right? Huge global company. So I spoke at their engineer conference. Okay. We need those people, and I'm using those people. We need them, but man, they're not good at conversation. And the other thing that they're not good at, and this is why they hired me, and they said, engineers want to change the world, okay? So consequently, they don't like collaboration. They don't like to share ideas because they want to be the one who had the idea that changed the world, okay? So I had to do a session for them strictly on how to collaborate, okay? And so this was the closing exercise, and you would not believe what engineers will come up with this. So one of them, I'm not kidding, I mean, they're engineers, right? So one of them was, okay, so the umbrella represents a security firewall for information for our company. I mean, like literally, a shield or whatever. The paperclip was the conduit by which information actually that was approved got through that or whatever, blah, 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 blah. So, I mean, they just like had all these different, and then they were competing for each other, right? Like, cute. Okay, so here's our idea. Yeah. I'm not kidding. There was actually one of the best audiences, but they are so closed, right? Like they just don't want to share. And then they also want to prove that they're the smartest people in the room. So they're peacocking all the time, okay? But one that I did this last week for a medical device company called Zoll, Z-O-L-L. And it was a very largely male audience, okay? So not being sexist, just telling you the story. Okay, largely male audience, and it was global. We had people from Amsterdam there, the UK, you name it, okay? So they had a lot of good suggestions, but the one that killed me was the last one. I call them on last, and there's like 4 guys at the table. And they go, well, all right. So what we did was we used the umbrella as a zoom filter to soften your features. Yep. And then they said, and then we used the paperclip to fight boredom. So when the meeting got boring, we would just throw the paperclip into the trash and see what we could hit or whatever. And here's the kicker. We used the cup to pee in case the meeting ran long. You cannot make this stuff up. You cannot make this stuff up. I just have to tell you, I have a fascinating life to me, So anyway, but you can see how this can be not only an icebreaker, but like it actually gets you out of your head and just makes you start thinking in an imagine. There's nothing you're going to do with this, but it's like if you're working with a group of people, you can say, hey, before we start, just to get the creative juices flowing, just to actually have some laughs, because laughter is also really good for us. Really good, right? And so just to have some laughs, because you cannot go around a room like that and not have some crazy idea where people are like, oh my gosh, that's so funny, I did another one. Here's another really quick, great exercise is give people a picture of a watermelon, water bottle. So there's a picture of a water bottle on a slide that I have, and then I say, improve it. Improve it. And once again, anything goes. Here's what I've heard. Unbelievable. One person said, it will float behind us. We don't even have to carry it. It'll just float behind us. And I'm like, it's hysterical. One person said, it will have a thumbprint. And that sensor senses what vitamins we need. Ooh. I'm telling you. I like that. It will automatically refill itself overnight. You can change the color of the bottle to match your mood. It will come. This isn't one of the greatest ideas, but I'm putting an opinion. It will come with a strap that doesn't chafe you, because a lot of people carry their water and they chafe or whatever. And so, it's just hilarious what people will come up with, but it's like genius too. Oh, one of them was, it's got a special place in the top for your weed, and then the bottle. Not kidding. The special opening at the top is for your weed, and then the rest is actually for vodka, but it looks like a water bottle. Yeah. It's like, So anyway, the point is, all of these, as leaders and as people who actually want to bring people together, because that's when people do their best work and that's when business thrives, is when people are actually working together, especially on a project or anything that you can do to sort of break the ice like this, get the communication going, is always beneficial, even if it's not beneficial for that exercise. It's just something that's good to do. Wrapping it all up. So what can you do in your world to apply what you've learned today in your world with who you work with, you know, the role that you have or whatever? What can you do in your world to apply? Just, there was.
Use your slides.
You can. Yes, you can use my slides. Also, by the way, when you get these slides, and Joe's going to send them to you, I give you permission. I just want to say this out loud. I grant you permission to share those with anybody that you think is helpful. The only thing I ask is that you don't pass it off as your own. Just source me. Okay. But yeah, okay. What can you do with this, Kimberly?
So I didn't say it earlier, but Frank is actually my coach this year because of my interaction with Joe through Onward to Opportunity. I learned that I don't want to be an employee. I want to be an entrepreneur. But I had no idea what that looked like.
Right.
Everybody in my family's military, everybody's salary, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, I've just stepped into a world that I have no knowledge. So, so many people in this room have been instrumental in helping me with that, but what really resonated with me today is consistently work slowly. I said in big letters, I need to remember this. I just think, you know, in the first year of entrepreneurship, I feel like I'm behind the power curve. What power curve? Because I only have myself to reference to, and this is my first year of business, so this is
good for you. Good for you. And the other thing I'll tell you that goes along with, I mean, the consistency is one thing. Small progress is still progress. Sometimes small progress is frustrating to us because we want to move faster. We want to just be like, and I'll just share real quickly personally. I've battled my weight all my life. And when I say all my life, I mean all my life. Since I was 11 years old and hit puberty, everything changed. I'm the only person in my family, a family of 6, that I'm the only person that had a weight problem. I have been up, I have been down, I have been up, I have been down. You name it. 5 sizes of clothing in my closet. At my heaviest, I was 65 pounds higher than I am now, okay? And I can remember seeing a number on the scale that I had never seen before. And that was my stop moment. I was like, okay, something's got to change. And so I did everything that I was supposed to do. I cleaned up my diet. I started walking. I was too heavy to run. I started walking. I started doing all the things. And 3 weeks later, I got on that scale after being good, what we would call good. And I hate that word in relative to diet and nutrition, but you know what I'm talking about. I was doing the thing. I was working the plan. And I got on that scale, and I was 3 weeks, and I was down 3 pounds. And I almost burst into tears because I thought, oh my gosh, 65 pounds, 62 to go? Like, I've been perfect for 3 weeks. Are you kidding me? 62 to go? It seemed a mountain too high. And then I thought, well, how did you put it on? Pound by pound. How's it going to come off? Pound by pound. And slow progress is still progress. And I learned, I mean, that's true in life, but I learned it for me personally with my weight because I was just sort of like, it wasn't happening fast enough for me. I wish it happened faster, but I couldn't change that. I was just doing it, and it worked. But slow progress was still progress, and I had to accept that. And it was very hard for me. I'm an incredibly impatient person. But no, I really am alpha to the max, right? But slow progress is still progress. So the consistency is slow. But then understand, too, that when you're making progress on all that, the progress itself can be slow, but it's still progress. So there's that. Okay. What else can you learn in your world to apply? Yes?
I see it differently. It was huge for me. That was just like
it's a game changer.
An aha moment. And we talk to a lot of businesses and trying to project a reason to become accredited. And business say, well, I don't need to be accredited. I don't need the BBB. And that's I was really struggling to come up with something that made sense, that was authentic, that I genuinely believe, and that is I see it.
I say it differently. May I tell you how I see, and may I tell you how I see it, which gives them control, right? People like control. So if I say, may I tell you how I see it? First of all, no one's going to say no. And secondly, you're granting control to the other person, which makes them feel good. And then they're more likely to hear you if you ask their permission to share. Yeah, good. So you can use that in your world. It's a game changer. You can use it in your family too. It really is. And there's nothing conflict about it, you know? And so what happens is, I think when a lot of us are confronted with an opposing view or opposing perspective, we dig in. We dig in even more. Because by God, I'm going to show you how right I am, you know? No, I mean, seriously, like, okay, you think you're going to win this? You know, and we dig in, and then that's an unmovable place. You know, and so what we want to do is soften that whole experience and just get the other person to, instead of metaphorically speaking, this, to just drop that and just say, you know, can I share with you what I'm thinking? Because I definitely want to hear your perspective, but I want you to hear mine as well. And when they say yes, boom, you're in. Leadership is influence. A lot of people think leadership is power. No, it's not. Leadership is influence. Influence is power. Okay? Gaining influence in your role or your position or your team actually makes you more respected and more appreciated. So you gain influence, you don't gain power. Okay? You gain influence. And when you're influential when you're an opinion leader, when people listen to you, when they seek your advice, when they listen, you know, that's where you can make changes. You know, everybody knows the idiot at work who nobody listens to because he's an idiot or she's an idiot or they're an idiot. But no, I mean, seriously, we all work with people where it's just like, yeah, whatever. But if you're influential, it's that walk softly and carry a big stick. You know, like when you do speak, then people will listen. Gaining influence in a meeting makes your voice heard and acknowledged. And leadership, remember, is a choice, not a position. Everybody has the opportunity every single day to lead by example and just be a good leader. So this was my thing, and we started here. So the one thing that really landed for you today, we talked about so many things, but one thing that really hit your heart or hit, you know, anyone? We've had 2 shares. Yeah.
In times of crisis, good leader provides sense of calm, make people feel safe.
Mm-hmm. That's the primary job.
Yeah.
They're going to panic. If everybody's panicking around you, it's chaos. And there's no control. And they're looking, that's your moment. I mean, that's your moment to step in and just kind of go, okay, let's assess. Let's assess. Let's just take a breath. Yeah, okay.
Also in families, it's everywhere. You can bring, as a leader of the family, this peace.
To the family?
Yeah.
Indeed. Use this at Thanksgiving with your family, okay? So when everybody's going berserk and, you know, everybody hates grandpa's opinions and, you know, so-and-so is whatever, then you can just be like, I'm just going to be calm. I'm not going to take the bait. I'm just going to sit here and change the subject to, so what shows are you watching right now that you're binging, you know? So, all right, good. Okay, anybody else? Yeah, Zach.
I kind of inferred it, but, you know, a lot of what we're talking about is emotion, transparency, leadership is in taking the responsibility. A lot of that for me came down to what I wrote down is focus on the process and executing it well. Results are impossible to guarantee, but your effort is not.
Absolutely.
And so a lot of this stuff we talk about is like, how do you deal with people? If you deal randomly and sporadically and unpredictably, you're going to get that exact result. But if you have a system, like we had, there was a core value we shared in a previous company which says open door always, which means doesn't matter what it is. Personal is business, business is personal. People try to leave all that stuff at home.
You can't.
Work at home and blah, blah, blah. Whatever, dude. So if you got an issue, roll in my office, sit down.
Tell me what's going on.
My job in charge of my team is to take away all the things that you're concerned about, whether that's fear of getting fired or having a bad relationship. It's for me to take that away so you can be your best version of you while you're here, focusing on what you can do. And that, for me, that was part of our process, right? Was to try to find ways, it wasn't try. We had a process for you coming in, sitting down, us dealing with it, working through it to empower you to go back and do your thing. And it was always to be dealt with. It was just to be dealt with in certain ways. And sometimes that would be like, we might find you a therapist.
Right.
Which is
We might give you a couple of days off that you really need. You've got a special needs child and they, whatever, they need, yep.
So I went and I took their car to the mechanic and sat there all day because,
That's
to be
awesome.
frank, they needed to be
At work.
More than, well, I needed to work too, but I could work from
Right.
anywhere. They needed to be at the office.
Yep.
So I took their car for them. And they were like, I can't believe you would take my car. I go, I can't believe you'd be stressing out about a car when you got other more important things
Right.
to do. Just take the car, dude.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah, take something off of them. That's another important thing too, is that if you can take something off of somebody, that's really valued. I mean, like something personal. So I'll tell you one extraordinary story during lockdown and all that was one woman was telling me about work and stress and all this kind of stuff. She was like, suddenly, she's a single parent. Suddenly my kids are home. all day. And not only am I expected to work, but now I'm also expected to make sure that they're doing their work, that they're logging on, that they're also having lunch or whatever. And I have endless loads of laundry, and I can't even clean my house because I'm doing this, blah, 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 okay? And she mentioned to her boss one day, she was kind of just going like, oh my gosh, it's so overwhelming. And she wasn't complaining. She was just like, just like, ugh. And she mentioned something about that list and said, and the one that stuck for her boss was, I haven't cleaned my house in 3 weeks. And her boss said, let me get you a housekeeper. And the boss had a budget for her department, and she could spend it any way she wanted within reason. And she said, how much money does it cost me to send a housekeeper to her house every other week on Fridays and catch up on the cleaning? And that was something that probably cost $500 or less, or $1,000 or less. The dividends that paid, people don't forget that kind of stuff. It doesn't take much to really, really show that you care, the taking the car in or whatever. Yeah, that's really. Also regarding processes, I will say this. Processes do not guarantee an outcome that you want, but they are your best shot at that outcome. So if you think about football teams, Tom Brady, wildly successful football teams, those players still go through drills. They've been doing them for 20 years, but they're still going through the tires, and they're still learning how to run backwards, and they're still, because drills work. And so it becomes muscle memory and all that kind of stuff. And so when they're out there, they don't have to think, they're just doing, And so it doesn't guarantee that you're going to win the game, but it guarantees the best possible chance of winning the game. And so that kind of stuff is really, processes are important.
It also allows you to see where you're making mistakes.
Oh, totally. And that's the other thing too is,
If you're not getting the result, you can go back and tweak the small pieces.
yep,
And go, oh, that's what it was.
and that, oh my God, we got to go. Okay, so let's no. Let's just do this really quick. I thought it was like 1:30 and it's 1:55. So what else? What else landed for you? No right or wrong. Just what else where you're like, I'm writing that down.
I think at a high level for me, that what you said was really affirmations of the foundational work that I do anyway, but you really feel some gaps and holes.
I'm glad.
Contextual way with the things that you were bringing across. So that great job.
Okay, thank you. What else? Yeah.
So Kelly, for me, there's many, many things, but I just want to give you some praise.
Well, thank you.
So first and foremost, the energy, attitude, and joy you bring to this room is absolutely stunning, and it's absolutely amazing. So that is the first thing.
Thank you.
The second thing is that you've inspired me to up my game as a speaker.
Good.
I'm inspired by what you communicated, your communication style, everything about you is so professional. You truly are legendary. You've done a tremendous job.
No, go on. I mean, go on. Thank you. That's very.
So I will guarantee you this, in my next speaking opportunity, I'm going to say, look, I had this most amazing time in a
Workshop
with, Kelly McDonald.
Thank you. Thank you. That really makes me feel good, and we all like compliments. The child in us never outgrows that. Never. What else? Anything? You don't have to have anything. I mean, you're probably like burned out. You're like, yeah, we want to go, Kelly. All right, well, I hope this has been helpful, and I've gotten enough feedback from you. So I want to leave you with my favorite African proverb. It's actually the only one that I know, but it's awesome. And it says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go farther, go together. And every one of you, I want to end by honoring you again on this, is every one of you gave up your day, let's be real, okay? This is the day, to come here. Your competitors and fellow community members didn't. What does that say about you? You're investing in yourself. You're true leaders. So anybody could have been here, but you came. So I want to honor you because that shows me that you're smart, forward-thinking people who are really, truly trying to make a difference, and that's how you really, really, really lead. And shameless plug, and that's it. So thank you, and thank you, Joe. Let's thank Joe for bringing this wonderful content to you and making it accessible because it was free. You gave up a huge resource, which was your time, but he made it accessible for you, and turn that into some good and buy a ticket to La Vida and tell people. Yep. All right. Thank you, Joe.